to the European LCS playoffs here. We just had our first quarterfinal and the Alliance was victorious over the Copenhagen Wolves in 3 games. So I'm joined by both Froggen and Wicked to talk about that. Froggen, maybe you want to start by telling us about game 1 because that went really bad, really fast for you guys.
Yeah, so I think we played way too passive in game 1 and they basically had all the control and they had the outscaling top lane as well. Like we basically couldn't handle Jax and he could always go off to the side lane and just split push. He didn't even have to buy magic resistance because I need to be with the team in mid, so we need to send Shyvana against Jax and it's not really that favorable. So we just took that away in the other games and it seemed to work out pretty well.
Wicked, what do you think about that first game? And then, of course, they were banning out both your Irelia, your beloved Irelia, and also Renekton, which kind of left you pondering what you should pick.
So I like playing Irelia and Renekton against Jax, and also like Ryze against Jax, but all of them were banned, and then they picked Jax, so it was a pretty terror matchup.
So you didn't have anything to say about Wicked being banned out?
Nah, it's like since season 1 ban Irelia, GG.
Anyway, you guys went into game 2, of course, very important to reset your minds, and then you thought, when in doubt, just go for the Kha'Zix. Tell us about the pick and ban phase for you guys.
Well, Kha'Zix is pretty OP. It's like you just free farm in mid and then you just ultimate and it's pretty much a free win. But I didn't actually plan on playing Kha'Zix too much. We really wanted to play the 6 and have the stronger split pushers, but we had to change our strategy because of game 1. So just like, okay, we can do Ryze Kha'Zix and it's really, really strong with the rune prison and just lay waste on top of that and nobody can survive that. And we know Forgiven likes to play a 6 AD carry item build with like basically only 6 offensive items. So he's not going to get out of that rune prison and he's going to straight up die, and it worked really well for us in team fights.
Tell me then your experience, Wicked, in the 2 games then in the end that you guys won a lot better than game 1, obviously.
Wait, say that again?
How was your experience in the 2 games that followed and your matchup versus Youngbuck?
Well, my experience was really fun because Ryze against Mundo, I can free farm all day, it's not really a problem. The only problem I had was in the 3rd game, I decided to go in 1v5 at level 1 and I kind of got destroyed. What
happened? Were you tapped out or something? Because it seemed like you weren't looking at all.
Well, I was looking at our beautiful bottom lane and looking at what they were doing, and then suddenly I was fighting 5 people.
Tell me about the bottom lane performance, because in the pregame, you guys said, well, or you actually said, basically Forgiven just goes off and farms and then comes back really strong, or lets his team fight 4 versus 5. How much of a threat was he in the series?
I actually think they won game 1 without really having him as any impact at all. It was basically just them being really strong on, obviously, Yasuo and Jax. And Amazing also played pretty decent, where Forgiven don't usually get to farm up as he wants to, where in game 2 and in game 3 you only saw him be mid, you saw him farm all the time. He doesn't even base for mana and stuff if he's low on mana, so he's going to be pretty weak in the team fights. So they didn't really play to his strengths, I think, and I think we played really well around it in game 2 and 3.
You guys absolutely did, and that means that you'll be in the semifinals tomorrow versus Fnatic. Wicked, first up, how do you think that matchup is going to play out? How strong do you think they are?
Well, I just hope they don't ban Irelia.
Well, I think they're going to do that right now for sure. Froggen, what do you think about the matchup?
I think it's going to be a more explosive matchup than this. Like, honestly, this was like pretty much just a farm fest. Like, Kha'Zix 6 and stuff, and you just farm all day. Versus Fnatic, I think there's going to be more aggression.
Okay, you guys, ROCCAT versus Gambit is coming up, of course, as our next game. What do you think that are kind of the strongest, who is the strongest team going into that one, Froggen?
I think we have a pretty good idea from scrims. They're like about even. They both have some new things they want to show off, and they have tried a lot of new stuff. So I think we're in for a treat here.
Wicked?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I would vote for ROCCAT winning, but I would definitely say people should out for Darien because he does a lot of good stuff.
There's a lot of good stuff. Well, thank you very much, guys. We'll be seeing you guys tomorrow, of course, as you are in your semifinals. Congratulations, once again, the Alliance in the semifinals. But who's going to be at our other semifinalists? We're going to find out, because it's time for ROCCAT versus Gambit with Joe and Quickshot.
Thank you very much, Shox, and welcome back, everyone, to the LCS Spring Playoffs. I'm Joe Miller alongside Trevor Quickshot Henry as we head into our second quarterfinal series of the day, where ROCCAT are going to take on Gambit. Now, ROCCAT come into this game after finishing 4th in the regular season, just 1 place above the 5th place, Gambit, obviously. And during the split, ROCCAT owned the head-to-head record between the two teams at 3-1.
Yeah, now throughout the course of the split, ROCCAT has performed well. They've been staying in the top 3 teams of the league for 9 consecutive weeks, and they held on to 1st place for 3 of those. Now, while ROCCAT may have struggled for the last few weeks of the split, these teams are incredibly close in terms of overall statistics.
And when you actually look into the stats that we track for the LCS, these teams are so ridiculously close, and so much so that we actually want to share some of them with you. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, so we talked about this in the preview show, but that is a long time ago. I want to start with the average CS numbers. So we worked out the average CS for all 5 members of the team, and the variance between each lane is at maximum 4. Gambit averaged 54 CS between their entire team at 10 minutes. ROCCAT are only 2 off their pace. If we look later in the game at 20 minutes, ROCCAT now has 2 more than Gambit. So it's again just demonstrating how close these two teams truly are. Too many T's. While we're looking at CS, it's only one part of the picture. I think objectives like Dragons and Barons play a very big role because we know both of these teams like to fight for them. And once again, they're very close. ROCCAT has secured 10 out of the 18 Dragons and 4 out of the 7 Barons taken during the 4 times these teams have done battle.
And Gambit has also held strong at the top of the table for pretty much the majority of the split. They were in 1st or 2nd place for 8 out of the 11 weeks. But you never once really felt like Gambit were fully in control of the European LCS. And as a team, Gambit have always flirted with inconsistency. We all know that by now. But their ability to rise above the competition when required is as strong as ever. The last time, of course, that these two teams faced off is a perfect example of that, with Gambit decimating the ROCCAT squad behind a flawlessly executed Siege comp.
Yeah, as a really quick fun fact, Gambit's entire team only spent 1 minute, 25 seconds dead during the entire game, which lasted 25 minutes. The way in which they played was beautiful to behold. Starting with Alex firing off homing spear after homing spear from Nidalee, to Diamond cleaning up with Kha'Zix, followed by great objective control. The best part about this particular match was just how strong Gambit seemed to be when playing a style of game, that siege composition, that you don't associate with the Russians.
And of course, you can't talk about that win without mentioning Genja and his very unusual choice of champion, at least for him.
Yes, for him. Genja picked up Caitlyn for the first time this split, and he didn't play her at all during the summer split last year. He did go on to play later in the week, and not only was it a great pickup, it was doubly effective because it shocked everyone to see Genja on the champion, and it denied it from Celaver, who is one of his most played champions.
Well, ROCCAT is well aware of Gambit's successful record in big matches and are going to be looking for a weakness in their bottom lane. But Gambit is confident that they can adapt to the meta faster than their rivals and gain the edge to win.
Gambit's reputation is that they always do good in playoffs, they always do good in best of 3, so we're just looking forward to see if that's true.
They're not looking that good lately, and I think if we play our best, we can have a good shot at winning that match.
They did some good in the beginning of LCS, and like us, they have hard time in the end of the split, but maybe they can play better in playoff when there is more at stake.
They have trouble adapting, but then they have enough time to adapt. They know the meta pretty good. At the beginning of when changes comes, some teams found out something OP. ROCCAT do not find it out, but when time pass through and other teams know a couple of OP champions, ROCCAT knows everything about the meta.
I think their jungler is really good, the Diamond procs. Aleksei, I think he's not that stable, but if he has a really good day, he plays almost perfect. Their bot lane is, I think, the weakest point of the team. I think they are not that synergized together. Darien, he plays for the crowd, I think. He is like crazy guy in the team.
Our government say we need to win. You win or you going to graveyard.
So he's playing very brave and greedy.
Very too greedy. He's gone down. First blood. It is ROCCAT and shock horror. Darien goes down.
I don't fear death. I'm fear only I can play on stage.
Always great to hear from Darien, and if you don't win, you go to the graveyard. Apparently, it's not somewhere I want to go.
Definitely not. And if any team is going to try to avoid that situation, it's going to be Gambit. They want to deliver.
Well, we are going to be moving on to that best of 3, but first of all, let's check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's ROCCAT with Xaxus in the top lane, Jankos in the jungle, Overpow in the mid lane, Celaver the AD carry, and VandeR the support.
And on the red side, it is Gambit Gaming. Darien in the top lane, Diamond in the jungle, Aleksei in the mid lane with Genja and Edward as your AD carry and support.
And before we get into the match, our featured matchup for this quarterfinal series takes place in the jungle with Jankos against Diamond. Now, both players are coming in with fairly good statistics. Jankos holds 8 kills, 9 deaths, and 24 assists, while Diamond has 12 kills, 8 deaths, and 11 assists between them. And remember that Diamond did miss 1 encounter due to those visa issues that happened earlier in the split, where ROCCAT got the win.
Yeah, now it's really interesting to see the champions that Diamond has played against ROCCAT, and they're not what you'd consider hyper-successful. He did pull out the Shen in one of those matches, has played the Skarner as well, thank you very much.
And Zed.
And this could result in this particular series, I'm expecting more standard picks, which could result in a higher level of play. Jankos is super important for ROCCAT in their wins, and the very high assist count is a testament to that. 24 assists in 4 games is a large number. We do track how many blue buffs each of these teams secure, and when we measure Jankos and Diamond together, traditionally, in the majority of ROCCAT's games, Jankos actually secures more blue buffs than Diamond does. But in this matchup against these two teams, he only secures 22%, which is about 10% less than standard. If we draw some comparisons, it does mean that nearly 80% of all blue buffs get given to Overpow. It is different to the rest of the games, and it could be a reason as to why ROCCAT are beating Gambit. Diamond, on the other hand, he does secure a high percentage of his team's blues, and we'll need to see if this has any sort of impact in this game. We had a bit of fun with stats for this game.
And one last thing to talk about is Diamond's champion choices when playing against ROCCAT. He's locked in Shen, Vi, and Kha'Zix, and only Kha'Zix has been successful for him so far.
Yeah, Shen and Vi, less so, and you have to wonder, is that Diamond experimenting or disrespecting? I mean, there's a lot of arguments, a lot of ways you could go.
I don't think with Vi, with Shen, I think it might be a bit more arguable.
Worth a try. For Jankos on the other side, he's played Lee Sin twice, he played Elise and Olaf, and I'm very excited to see how both of these junglers transition to 4.5. With the new Feral Flare, we did see it once today already. We know that Jankos and Diamond are both aggressive gankling junglers, and I do feel like Jankos' individual performance is more impactful for his team. I'm also expecting to see Xin Zhao coming out of Diamond Prox. We know how much he loves that jungler.
Yeah, we've seen him play Xin Zhao a little bit earlier on in the season. I'm going to say, I'm actually just going to look at my notes for that because I don't have it in my brain right now. And I can't actually find it, which is terrible, Joe. What's the point of all
You
this?
committed to this. You should have just played it out patiently. But we've seen a few guys pulling out the Xin Zhaos. I distinctly remember it was Impaler that did it first in the split to not very good success. If I remember correctly, he went like 0, 8, and 5 when playing that one. But now, thanks to the Feral Flare, it is an item that synergizes well with Xin Zhao's kit, and we'll see if he pulls it out.
And I'm going to try that one again against SK Gaming. He ended 9-1 and 10 on Xin Zhao, knew it all along. Well, we are into bans and picks, and they're coming through pretty quickly here, so let's have a look through them. LeBlanc, Renekton, Nidalee banned out here for ROCCAT, 2 aimed at Aleksei, 1 up towards Darien, who's trying to avoid the graveyard today. Then Ziggs, Rise, and Karma taken away by Gambit. So taking away that Rise, bit more versatility there. The Ziggs against Overpow, and Karma, who's been so successful in support role.
There is so much to catch up on right now, but I'm just going to say that all of the junglers are still available.
Yeah.
Knowing that you've got that Lee Sin up, knowing that Evelyn's there, knowing that Xin Zhao's there, I think both Jankos and Diamond are going to have a field day. With ROCCAT locking in that first pick Thresh, I am quite happy to see that. It is VandeR's most played champion by a massive margin. And when he is on form, when he is landing those death sentences, he is a threat to absolutely everybody. So we'll see if he can thread the needle and find those picks.
Yeah, interesting choice. In fact, the most contested support if you had these two players together. 14 games played for VandeR, 11 for Edward, and VandeR has almost double the KDA, in fact more than double the KDA of Edward on that Thresh. So that's going to be an important pick for them. That's where he won his MVP award with his Thresh skills. Over on the other side though, Irelia for Darien.
So that is an interesting first pick. If you look at the rest of the top lane, a lot of champions are still up. We've already seen the Jax, we've already seen the Dr. Mundo. With Renekton banned out, this is telling us that Darien is very confident on that pickup. He wants to try to get some lane presence down. I want to see how aggressive he plays, because the one flaw with Irelia, if you are in your opponent's face all the time, you burn through your mana pool very, very quickly. So we'll need to keep a close eye on Darien and his resource management to see how well he survives this laning phase.
Lucian also picked up for Genja, so his brief affair with Caitlyn, he's gone back to Lucian now, which is the more standard pick, actually, for Genja. You'd also argue that that's the most highly contested AE carry when you look at these two players.
I guarantee it. When you look at the meta right now regarding your AD carries, it's Lucian and Caitlyn that are really head and shoulders above the rest, and depending on the rest of your composition, will then determine who else you want to lock in. We do see that the Jinx has been locked in now for Celaver, and in my opinion, it's a hit-and-miss champion for Celaver. He's had some games where he's done great, he's had some games where his positioning and his slightly weaker laning phase has cost him. Jinx is a champion that when she gets ahead, she has so many tools to stay there, but the moment she can't kill you with a Super Mega Death Rocket, all of a sudden, she's not a kill threat. You've got Irelia that can jump on her. With Kha'Zix still available and most likely going to get locked in, he's going to jump on her as well. I'm expecting Celaver to have a tough time against this very mobile, aggressive champions from Gambit.
And Xaxus in the top lane going to be bringing out the Jax. First time, actually, that we're going to see Jax for Xaxus so far in this split. And Jax has had his fair mixture, I think we can say, of success and not quite as much success. We all know, though, once or if a Jax gets going, he's a very big threat.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there is a time bomb on it. You know, the moment Jax becomes big enough that nobody from Gambit can 1v1 him, they will lose the game. This is what happened in game 1 of the previous quarterfinal, where there was nobody in Alliance that could deal with Young Bucks Jax in a 1v1 scenario. So he just sits alone by himself in a side lane and continues pushing it up. So we will need to see how Gambit decide to deal with him. I'm anticipating some additional love from the junglers to get in his face and make his laning phase a bit more difficult.
And speaking of junglers, Kha'Zix was locked in here for Diamond, and well, we know how strong he is on Kha'Zix. I almost feel like we say that all the time when we're talking about Diamond and his performances on junglers, but Kha'Zix is a real speciality for him.
7-0-2, the last time that Gambit beat ROCCAT, which is 2 weeks ago, it was the jungler that he was running when they had that siege composition, and Alex would land a spear, Diamond would jump in there and kill somebody, and he did that over and over and over. We've talked a lot about the strength of Kha'Zix right now. On 4.5, he is a little less powerful thanks to the tower dive, damage reduction on his tower. And the only reason I highlight that, if Gambit wants to shut down Xaxus on Jax, they need to execute their dives flawlessly. They cannot afford to miss abilities or miss time abilities, because it's going to be very difficult not only to dive Jax under a tower, but to ensure you get the kill.
And we're also going to see Nami here coming out for Edward, and that will also be a first pick of the season here for Gambit. Edward not picked Nami up until now. I'm just going to completely skip away from the Garen, because that's probably not going to get locked in.
I don't think so.
And move over to ROCCAT's final 2 picks with Elise and Lulu.
What I really find interesting is with Evelyn available, Jankos has decided to go for Elise over the likes of Evelyn. Over the likes of Lee Sin. I mean, they were both up, they were both there, and he's opted to go for the magic-based jungler. I think they're feeling confident in the amount of damage that you've got, the mixed damage from Jax and the burst damage from Jinx. I also like the utility that Elise offers you. A little bit safer with the repel, Cocoon scales a little better into the late game, and you have some siege potential. Throw out those zaps and those glitter lances and some volatile spiderlings, and all of a sudden you do have some siege potential on the side of ROCCAT.
Final pick for Gambit was none other than Castlewin. He's been banned so many times this season. However, he did have that rework, has been banned for 4 weeks now,
yes.
Actually. And today is the first time that we're actually going to see Castlewin available. Gambit take it.
So the biggest thing to note on Castlewin is his Q has had the biggest change. It no longer applies a silence. It gives him a shield when he does actually cast that and jump in. I feel like in general Castlewin's damage has been reduced, especially in the early and mid game, but given enough time, given enough items, he still has the potential to instantly burst you down. The one thing I do want to highlight, you've got a wild growth in there that can save somebody. You do have the Thresh Lantern as well. So Alex is going to need to time his engages perfectly to make it work.
And the fact is, on the other side, you've got a Jax who's also going to be scaling up like a beast. And we'll see how those two face off. But before we get into our first game of this best of 3, let's see who you guys voted for over on LOLesports.com. According to the numbers, you think Gambit are going to win the series by 69%.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I think, you know, I feel like Gambit are probably the stronger favorites in this series as well. They've been boot camping for just shy of 2 weeks. You know, I talked on this earlier as well. Alex has said they've got a team analyst. I mean, this is the first time we've heard anything remotely of the sort for Gambit. And if Genji's going to build some real items on an AD carry, and they can fix some of their decision-making and their rotations, this could be a very strong Gambit team.
Well, let's not forget that Edward tweeted yesterday that he's broke his finger. Turns out it was his finger on his foot, which is actually a toe. We'll let him off on that one, though, because we're going to move into game. We'll see if that broken toe affects Edward this time around. It is, of course, game one between Gambit and ROCCAT in this best of three, with a place in the semi-final up for grabs. And for the loser, still the threat there of looming relegation.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. Alliance, you know, you weren't 100% sure they were going to make it in that previous series. They were behind in game one, significantly behind in game two, but they did manage to pull it out and make it work for them in their favor. Right now, Gambit grouped up on the bottom side of the map and going to be invading on ROCCAT. This is something that's not traditional. We don't see Gambit going for these sorts of invades very often, and I think Celaver should be able to get away as long as he flashes the bubble.
Gets the early vision there, and Edward is going to be the one, I was going to say walking, but it's a fish. I'm not swimming along on grass, not something a fish does really either, but Gambit have pushed themselves in towards that red buff area. We see the ward going down on the buff, and instantly the recalls start to happen. You see Thresh off to one side, Lulu on the other, Celaver on Jinx is waiting on the bottom side, but Gambit have got the information here that they wanted, picking up that early ward, getting the vision in there, and leaving.
So we'll see how they make use of that information. Once again, we talked about how we're anticipating Darien to get a couple more ganks in that top lane. And by getting that additional vision, seeing all the members of ROCCAT, it's going to allow them to actually quite safely get control of their own buffs. I do want to highlight the fact that there are 2 teleports on the side of Gambit right now, both with Darien and Aleksei. And considering how powerful that teleport is when you TP to a tower, it's going to give Gambit an immense amount of mid-game map presence and map control. And we'll see how they make use of it.
Well, we see that Gambit once again moving across the map, getting a ward into the Death Brush. And it looks like that blue buff will be safe for now. So Gambit getting some early vision in there. Are we going to see that lane swap happening? We already are seeing that happening as Gambit move Lucian and Nami to the top lane. But ROCCAT are ready for this one. They're going to bring Jinx and Thresh to that top side. That will leave Lulu and Kha'Zix in the mid lane. Irelia Jax in the bottom.
So going for the straight head-to-head, we may not be seeing any of these funny, fast tower pushes that we did see from the first 2 games of the last series. But we need to see how this lane matches up. I actually quite like the idea of a Nami Lucian when you don't get hooked.
Looking the fish, but I'm not sure they've got the damage here at level 1. Let's talk about summoner spells here while we're on the topic of damage, because, you know, traditionally a support will have an ignite in there. That's obviously all changed now, and we see heals from both AD carries and exhaust on both supports.
Yeah, I actually think without jungle intervention, there is sustain on the side of Nami, there's a shield on the side of Thresh and ROCCAT's side, and knowing that Lucian can bully Jinx early on, even though Thresh is slightly more effective than Nami, I do feel like this lane is pretty even. What I do like is once Edward gets some points into that Tidecaller's Blessing, the Nami E, he's going to be able to put that on Lucian, and Lucian, with his passive double shot, will get both of those procs off immediately, making his early game trading and burst that much more significant. So we'll keep an eye on that lane in a moment. As you can see, Diamond in the bottom lane, coming in behind Jankos. This should be a pretty successful gank.
This could be dangerous. Level 2 has got his leap strike. Actually uses a flash there as well, Xaxus, to get back to the safety of that turret. That's an early summoner spell brought out there from Gambit's side of things. Jankos is still hanging around, but you can see there's a ward completely giving his position away there. So Gambit know that Elise is hanging around. They're just going to push this wave to the turret.
I would expect the same thing to happen in the next couple of minutes, knowing that Xaxus doesn't have that flash available, and knowing that both Irelia and Kha'Zix can leap after him once he manages to leap away. That is quite a powerful position to be in. So we'll see how successful Diamond is at getting that potential first blood. He's about to run into a spider in the jungle. I think it's going to be a pretty even trade.
Cocoon going out there, not quite got the right angle to catch onto Diamond. The Spiderling, though, did have the range just to get in there. Just want to touch on that mid lane for now as well. Aleksei, we are actually going to see a hook, so let's forget that one. Chompers are down as well. Edward going to go low. That's a good bubble from him. Exhaust comes onto Genja as well. Wow. Darien tries to get in there, but he doesn't manage to get through onto that, and that is his teleport down.
Flame Chompers from Celaver not only holds Gambit in place, but it also catches Darien the moment he spawns after that summoner spell was used. So ROCCAT, they do get away. I do want to highlight that both Exhaust and Heal were used on the side of ROCCAT, whereas Heal is still available for Genja. thanks to Darien using that TP top, he's removed some of that pressure from Alex. But if you look at Alex's CS, he's 25 to 25, tied with Overpow on a melee champion. So this is actually very good CSing in the first 5 minutes. Overpow hasn't been able to punish quite as hard, and you could argue that the fact that Lulu no longer gets 2 glitter lancers off could be a potential reason for that.
Yeah, we also saw that crystalline flash start as we are going to see Celaver going aggressive here on towards Genja. There is the repel, actually had the lantern. We see the teleport coming in on towards that top side. That's how Aleksei starts this time. They go towards VandeR. There's the flash around and the first blood coming in. It's Edward that secures that one. And they, I think, forgot there was a second teleport on the Gambit side. They've got to keep their eyes out for that.
Yeah, and you don't expect 2 teleports before level 6. Neither Irelia nor Kassadin had their ultimates available to actually jump in for those kills. So I think that's actually very good, decisive, aggressive play from the side of Gambit. It has netted them first blood, considering the first attempt was a fail. You do have to call that out. Even though Darien failed that gank, he's actually not even behind on CS. So Xaxus did not punish that lead.
And speaking of not punishing that lead, Alex went top lane, and we didn't see Overpow stretching anything out in the mid lane either. Only 2 CS in the advantage that he has right now, but that's going to be very even with this wave stacked up, and Aleksei just continues there to harass things off with that shield, pretty much blocking everything that Overpow throws in.
Yeah, and also with Kassadin on 4.5, his passive reduces all of the magic damage by 15% right now, so it's going to reduce a lot of the trading power that Overpow has in these mid to late game team fights. The thing that ROCCAT are going to be looking for as objectives like towers and dragons become more apparent is trying to create this death ball of champions, having Lulu, Jax, Elise rushing through a group of Gambit's members and having Wild Growth being very disruptive. Gambit, on the other hand, they're looking for assassinations. They're looking for Darien to jump on a target and have him blown up by Diamond and Aleksei. So the key in these next engagements will be whether or not Gambit can blow somebody up through the Wild Growth.
We see both junglers actually heading back off into the jungle. They were hovering around that mid lane, but realizing there's probably not much up for grabs on that area of the map. You can see that both Overpow and Aleksei are level 6 now. That gives, of course, the Rift Walk to Aleksei and Wild Growth as well on the other side in case that's needed. Edward did just come down from the top there and put himself a ward in position, which was quickly taken away.
I want to highlight how much vision Gambit has on the map right now. We will in just a moment. Xaxus fancies the chance of Darien.
I'm not sure he's got the damage to actually finish it without going under the tower. In fact, Darien going very aggressive in there. We see that Xaxus has a level advantage onto him. That's not going to last too long though, and we'll see if Darien just throws his ultimate straight out here to bully Xaxus out of the lane. Apparently he doesn't need to. Xaxus wants to recall.
Yeah, probably saving it a little bit for the additional regen if a fight were to break out. If you look at the minimap, the number of wards that Gambit have down right now is very important to note. When we were coming into this matchup, we were looking at the ward placements from each respective team, and ROCCAT had a significant lead. They had actually placed 383 green wards to the 245 green wards of Gambit, and you can see on the map already, the stats favor Gambit. So this could have been one of the things that as a team they've been working on in preparation for the playoffs, improving their inferior vision control.
See the bug waiting there on that top try. Busch Pink Ward was there, so they knew that ROCCAT hadn't spotted him, but as he starts to back away, there's actually a Pink Ward which will spot him here inside of that Death Brush. Diamond going to go in there. That's going to be a bit of free gold for him and denying a bit more of that ROCCAT vision.
Yeah, and when you've got 2 teleports on your side, all of those wards are doubly important. They give you more avenues or opportunities to jump in behind your opponent's squad. Darien is getting close to having his teleport available as we're about to hit this 9 or 10 minute mark. He does have his ultimate available as well, so that's going to increase his damage potential in any of these upcoming fights. But as it stands, even with the kill on their side, Gambit are not significantly ahead in terms of gold, even though they're doing pretty well in this laning phase.
Looking for an attempt here on towards Jankos and Overpow. Darien and Aleksei both there. They had Diamond just behind them as well on Kha'Zix, but it was spotted early enough from that one, and ROCCAT just decided to back away. Not going to put too much pressure onto that turret. Let's have a look at the AD carries, because there's a bit of a difference building there. 79 to 59 CS. Good solid lead for Genja early on.
Yeah, and you expect that lead considering Celaver and VandeR had to deal with 2 teleports. They've had multiple members of Gambit in their lane trying to shut them down. So I actually think Genja's doing a very good job at CSing, considering he's also been engaging in those fights. When the teleports have come in, He has actually peeled away from the minion line to try and set something up. He does have an assist to his name from that single kill. I do, however, like the pick potential that VandeR has on Thresh. If he can land a death sentence, combine it with a cocoon, and then a counter-strike from Xaxus, it is going to allow them enough time to find kills. But the key is, of course, to not fall further behind. Xaxus may find himself between an Irelia and a Kha'Zix, because Diamond, he's not going to cancel his... Oh, he just cancels his recall. I think they're going to fancy a chance of Jax here.
Well, we actually see as well, over 10 minutes into it now.
Elise is in the bush.
Yeah, Elise is waiting there. We are going to see a Diamond ulting into this one. They're going to go for Xaxus. Can they finish him off? He's down to half HP. Jankos, though, becomes the target of this one. There's a flash in from Diamond. It's Darien that gets the kill. Xaxus able to jump away, though. That's a nice kill picked up by Gambit.
Yeah, the amount of damage returned was just so much higher. Irelia with the hidden style is going to do a little bit more on each and every auto attack than Jax. Jack needs multiple attacks to hit that same burst. I do want to give props to Jankos, though, or to Xaxus. Oh, Aleksei going trading. I want to give props to Xaxus because he did actually move himself closer to Jankos to try and reduce some of that isolation damage from Diamond, but unfortunately it was too little, too late. And we do see Overpow and Alex trading. Here comes Diamond.
Alex needs to be careful, though. He's decently low from this. Avoid spikes not connected, though. And that will give him the ability to just walk away from that. No slow coming in. A lot of pings going up towards that top lane. And just want to touch on that. At the 10-minute mark, there was 86 CS on the board for Genji on Lucian. Now his Lucian average in 9 games is just 69 at 10 minutes. So he's actually farming better this game than his average throughout the entire season so far.
And you can theorize, once again, it's because of that support. You know, Gambit have threw resources to that duo lane to try and keep Celaver and VandeR down. It is also a testament to the pre-game discussion where, you know, ROCCAT was saying we feel Genji and Edward are the weaker links of Gambit. So Gambit have invested some resources to get their theoretical weaker links rolling, and it seems to be working out. It hasn't equated to an item lead yet, but that is because both of the AD carries are sitting on a lot of money. 1,700 for Celaver to 2,000 gold for Genji. So the first time they back, they will be looking to pick up those Bloodthirst BF swords, potentially Bloodthirsters if this extended laning continues.
Well, they seem quite content with the farming right now, and certainly Genji will be. Still holding a decent lead on that front. We see the Sightstone is also in there for Edward, of course, the recipient of the first blood for Gambit in this top lane, and now they see Aleksei is coming up there to join them again. There's a ward in the river there, though, so even though Aleksei may have come through with that pink ward, knowing there's no vision from ROCCAT, he could have come through, as there is a bubble landing on towards VandeR. In comes a tidal wave as well. Have they got the damage? Summon a heal was used there by Celaver, and now they're going to try and turn this one around. Not got the damage there to do the business.
Heal and exhaust was blown by ROCCAT to survive that trade. Genji holds onto the culling, so none of that was reduced. ROCCAT, they've called in reinforcements, and here comes Jankos and Overpow. Look for the cocoon.
There is a bubble, though. The bubble lands, the cocoon misses, and that will be Gambit able to simply walk away from that one. Both Overpow and Jankos had come up. If that cocoon had have landed and the bubble would have missed, that would have been a complete different outcome. And look at this, typical Gambit style. They see that the jungler and the mid lane are in the top lane. They go straight for the first objective here of the Dragon.
You know, it's not over yet. VandeR does almost throws out the hook. For the first time in a while, Gambit actually grabbed this Dragon without losing Darien. We so often see them pulling him up. Now we do see a teleport in the river. Here comes Gambit.
Here comes Alex from the side. He's going to burst the damage down onto all three of them. Bubbles missed, though, and Xaxus actually using his TP to now get involved in this top lane. In the end, no kills, no masses of damage really done from either side, and that means 2 TPs going to be going down. Overpow's now joining in. They might have the numbers advantage to force them off the tower. It looks like they will.
That was a very uninspiring gank there from Gambit. Not only did the bubble miss from Edward, but Alex came in from the side, throws out the force pulse, but there was no support. Nobody else backed him up. I do want to point out that Darien also burned his teleport. I believe he cancelled it. I did miss that myself, but it is on cooldown, meaning that Gambit are going to have this a few more minutes of passive play. We've been seeing them try to force things down, but at the end of the day, that failed gank and the failed presence means that ROCCAT actually secures the top lane tower to take a tower lead of 2-1.
Have a look down some items here. Darien on Irelia, first time this season. We know that Darien likes to experiment, I'm going to call it, when it comes to builds. Right now he has his Berserker Grease finished off with Home Guard as well, so they can get that speed out from the teleport. Got himself a Sheen up until now, working towards a Phage by the looks of it as well with that Ruby Crystal.
Yeah, he's going to be motoring right now. Keep in mind that the teleport is so much shorter cooldown. And I think the way ROCCAT are playing right now, they're trying to force down these towers. So anytime Darien needs to defend, he can. He's been jumped up by Xaxus. Here comes support.
3 men coming into this one. Can they lock up Darien? I think that they can. He's got no flash. There's a super mega death rocket. It's Jankos that sinks his fangs in there to get that kill. And they've got 5 men here. This is a 5-man push now from ROCCAT on that bottom tower. 3 men from Gambit trying to pull his one back in. They have got Alex with the hook. The box goes down. VandeR picks up that kill. The rest of the team have to back away. This is turret number 3 going down for ROCCAT.
Yeah, a small mistake here by Overpow. He was taking so many turret hits, he needed to use his summoner heal to survive. Remember, we touched in the pregame about how ROCCAT had the abilities to siege, and if you land a key individual targeted skill shot, it will open up that objective. A great death sentence under the tower by VandeR allows them to get a kill on Alex, grab themselves the 3rd tower of the game, and take a very small gold lead. Now, ROCCAT, with all of the outer towers down, need to get some deep vision in the jungle of Gambit to ensure that they can siege up on those inner turrets as safe as possible.
And speaking of vision there and Darien going down, we've seen a trend from him when you look a little bit deeper in the statistics in terms of wards. He doesn't give himself that vision very often in the solo lane, whether that's top or bottom.
He really does not. Over the 28 regular games of the Spring Split, Darien purchased 11 green wards and 6 pink wards in total. That's it. He's been relying entirely on his trinkets for vision. If you want to contrast to Xaxus, Xaxus has purchased 96 green wards and 13 pink wards. So 9 times the number of green wards. And if you look at the inventory right now, you can still see more wards on the side of ROCCAT. Although to be fair, the rest of Gambit have stepped it up this game. They have had very good vision up until this period of the game now as they've been defending these towers.
And apparently Darien likes to go to the graveyard a little bit more than he was letting on there. We've seen it time and time again from him, but somehow seems to work out for them more often than not. We do see Xaxus and Darien now switching their solo priority towards his top side, but they're not that solo because Diamond is up there with them. Jankos is there, and even Overpow is waiting off to the side here. They're looking for another free kill on Darien.
So for the most part, Jankos has actually been relatively close to Diamond. They seem to have read each other quite well. You'll notice that Diamond is making his way to this top lane, and Xaxus could jump in with a counter-strike.
There is the stun coming down. Jankos is here as well. That's a nice move from Darien to try and get away. Wild Growth goes down as well. Darien's a dead man. Jankos picks up another kill. He's feeding on Darien right now.
Very well executed by ROCCAT. They landed everything they needed to, and I like the fact that Overpow just waited in the wings just long enough to lull Gambit into that false sense of security. He used the whimsy on himself for the movement speed and lands a very good Wild Growth. Regardless of the tenacity and the crowd control reductions that Irelia picks up, when you've got a constant slow from Wild Growth and you've got a knock-up that cannot be reduced, it just makes it all the more effective. So, well played to ROCCAT. They extend a very small gold lead, but we're still looking for more vision from them. We're still looking for more map control, because truthfully, it's still actually very even despite them having the tower lead.
Interested to see how this next minute leading into the Dragon all pans out. As you said, the last Dragon went over to Gambit. A capitalization really on the positioning of ROCCAT as they sent their mid laner and jungler towards that top side of the map. This time around, ROCCAT have both their AD carry and support down there, but there's still no real vision of that Dragon area here with less than a minute to go. Overpow and Genji just butting heads somewhat in this mid lane as well. Overpow now got himself that Theme's Unholy Grail with the blasting one. Kassadin, let's touch on him. We've not seen him for a good while because he's been not only reworked but banned a lot before that. Rod of Ages is done for Alex.
So considering this is the first time we've seen the reworked Kassadin, I think we have to give a lot of props to Alex for doing very well in the farming game. Yeah. He's actually slightly ahead of Overpow with the teleport to the top lane and before 20 minutes. I do feel that, yes, Lulu is still a little bit weaker thanks to the changes on her health picks, but you should still be able to bully Kassadin. You are still a melee versus a ranged. You have the tools to your credit. So either Overpow slacking or Alex is just that good. We do see Xaxus and Darien, and here comes Alex as well.
Oh, Alex just waiting for this one, waiting for Xaxus to go low, but he jumps on towards Darien. Darien dodges off there just in time to stay alive, and now Alex is going head-to-head with Xaxus, who's doing a fair old chunk of damage. Will he jump over to Darien? No, he won't. Darien got the health back. That'll be a kill. The Dragon, in the meantime, did go down, though, in favor of ROCCAT.
So overall net game for ROCCAT, because they even out the Dragons at 1-to-1, they actually come out ahead in the goal. I do want to talk about how scary that is for Gambit, though. That is 2 members of Gambit that was required to seriously focus down Xaxus. It took a lot of time, let's go with that one, to actually kill him. And that is a Jax without any defensive items. In 4.5, the scaling runes have actually been tweaked. They are slightly more effective. And I believe that Xaxus is running a fair number of them, so it's going to allow him to scale a little bit more effectively into this late game without investing so much gold right now.
Which Jax player goes defensive? You don't need those things. We've seen that right there. Although no kills to his name yet, he is becoming a little bit of trouble for Gambit. We'll see how that all works out as Aleksei gets himself another blue buff. He's up to 154 CS, still bang level at this point with Overpow's Lulu. Sure he'll be happy with how that one is working out for him. We've also seen Trinity Force now being completed by Darien's Irelia, 1-2-1, and still lacking when it comes to CS if you compare that over towards Xaxus. Overpow, you're going to get chased down by Genja, playing very, very aggressive through the ward over there into that Wraith camp just to check it out and maybe follow through onto Overpow, but as he sees him back away, he'll say, okay then, free Wraith camp for me.
Yeah, great play there by Genja. Just very good mechanical ability. Chasing through an Overpow. He doesn't have a lot of defensive stats. He's relying purely on that shield to stay alive in those situations. Now, we haven't seen that ROCCAT have been unable to make a map impact. They do hook Diamond, but nobody's really close enough to support. And I think ROCCAT are looking for situations, looking for a way to invade Gambit's jungle risk-free, or safer would be a safer way to put it. Celaver, he's going to get dived.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get away from it either. That's 3 men coming in, but Wild Growth comes out. Darien sank into it. Xaxus gets that one. Incredible stuff. Slow is flashed away from there by Diamond. Aleksei will rip walk. It's all about the hook. He has to flash it. I don't think he had the range anyway, but better safe than sorry there. And that, from what looked like an easy finisher onto Celaver, turned out to be a nightmare for Gambit. And they're going for Baron.
I cannot believe how close that was to Celaver going down. The summoner heal plus that Wild Growth keeps him alive. Now they're on Baron and they are going to shred through this. There's nobody really close by. Now Diamond's coming in. There's a teleport as well.
Teleport coming to the backside. Baron is already very low. The tidal wave going to go through the middle of the team. There is a Baron taken by ROCCAT. They get the kill as well. We did see Thresh goes down, but Darien's diving in there. Aleksei is there as well. Darien is going to die from this one, but both Genja and Aleksei doing masses of damage. There's a good repel away, but he can't get away from the damage. Double kill for Aleksei. A 4 for 2 in the end. Yes, ROCCAT got that Baron, but the kills were nice from Gambit afterwards.
Hashtag not worth. ROCCAT rushed down the Baron, but they didn't get it down quickly enough. Trinity Force was not completed on Xaxus, and yes, there's a Zeal and a Bloodthirster sitting on Celaver, but truthfully, the amount of damage that was coming down from the Gambit squad and the number of directions of threat. You have a tidal wave flinging from the right-hand side. Diamond comes from the top. Alex is waiting in the wings on the right. And because of the amount of presence that ROCCAT needed to deal with and focus on, by the time Darien arrives, the rest of Gambit have got superior positioning. Great exhaust on Xaxus makes his couple of seconds of fight impact somewhat meaningless, and a very quick kill into Celaver allowed them to just clean up this fight very efficiently. 2 for 4. Baron does go to ROCCAT, so I think probably net gold gain is still sitting with ROCCAT, but you can't deny the power and the impact of removing that buff from the members of the team in favor of Gambit.
That's going to give a bit of insecurity, that's the word, unsecurity. Actually, the German word came into my head first. That's a worrying sign, I think. Been living here too long. But yeah, insecurity, that's the one that they had there. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Over to you, Quick Shot.
Perfect.
Why don't you have a talk?
I will, because we do see the Iceborne Gauntlets being picked up now for Kha'Zix. So we're seeing the first 4.5. His kit was reworked not only to remove the silence from his Q, give him a shield when he jumps into team fights to help survive, but also on his W, you're going to be increasing the amount of damage that he deals. There's an on-hit component. It restores mana if he hits champions. And when you combo that with the Iceborne Gauntlet, oh, we'll get to that. Xaxus may go down.
Going to get caught a little bit from this one. Did get his stun off and actually will leap strike away onto that ward that he had from his trinket. No problem for him there. And Gambit deciding, okay, we've got no real vision going any further down the river or in towards their jungle. Let's just let him have that one and escape from it. We've got 45 seconds here, 3/4 of a minute until that dragon comes up once again. Sits at 1 apiece right now with ROCCAT taking the last one.
Slightly superior vision for ROCCAT near the bottom half of the river. And just to finish up the point on that gauntlet, because of the changes to Cassidy and having his nether blades dealing that magic damage, when you combine the Sheen Burst plus the zone control that's going to give you with the slow, it buys him a little bit of time. Rift Walk in, get the slow, start to mitigate, use your shield from your Q, and Rift Walk out, in theory. We'll see how it works out because I do think his upfront assassination potential is significantly lower with this build, but we do need to see it actually play out because it is the first time we've seen Cassidy on this patch.
So, Dragon up in 5 then. No massive ward concentration down that side of the map just yet, although ROCCAT have started to move in position. We see that Gambit are already in there as well as a ward at the backside, which Aleksei is going to take away. The Dragon now down to less than half HP. They're going to try and come in for this one. It's going to be Gambit that get it. There's a repel coming away. Good tidal wave will knock them in the air, but it's Celaver that picks up Darien first. Diamond's going to fall as well. He was exhausted for that fight, and now Xaxus and Celaver just start to rip through the entirety of the team. Aleksei is going to try and escape. Genja will get away. Aleksei is probably going to run them on a bit of a wild goose chase here, but as the slow lands onto him, that makes it all the harder. The play comes in, and it's the shutdown from Jankos. That's a 4-0 in favor of ROCCAT.
Gambit do not want team fights. We talked about how their composition needs to find picks. They need to blow somebody up as quickly as possible and then have a numbers advantage in the team fight. The moment you start dealing with an Elise, you put a whole bunch of damage on it. She's going to repel away to dodge the rest of it. We see the wild growth coming in there. It's so difficult to focus down a Jax who's going to throw down his ultimate and get bonus resistances. So at the end of the day, Gambit stayed grouped up and they didn't blow somebody up. They have re-engaged now. Overpow may get taken out or not.
Or not. Darien might get taken out. He went a little bit too deep on that one. The rest of the ROCCAT team's coming in. Wait for the hook to come through. Where is it going to go? VandeR throws it out. He catches Edward at the back. Goes straight in. Wild growth knocks Darien up as well. And that's 2 more kills for ROCCAT with the turret as well. Diamond is trying to get away. Celaver going very, very deep on that one. Aleksei tries to burst him down, but they've got tower takedown potential as the hook lands onto Alex. He risk walks to safety again, but the in-him turret's down, and ROCCAT are going for the in-him.
There's nothing that can stop them right now. Alex and Diamond, if they want to commit, I'm convinced they're going to get dropped down. ROCCAT are landing so many skill shots, one after the other, and every time they connect, Gambit lose objectives. The problem that Gambit have right now is their wave clear is so reliant on their ultimates. There's not the greatest AoE from Kha'Zix. Irelia is going to rely on her Transcendent Blades and Lucian on the culling. Outside of that, it's such risky wave clear, which is why every time ROCCAT get close to those towers, they seem to find those kills. It happened 10 minutes ago in the bottom lane. It happened 3 seconds ago in the middle lane, and I do believe it's going to continue happening until Gambit can find better vision and find more picks.
And I hate to say it again, but Darien, not sure what he was thinking there. He went far too deep. ROCCAT had all moved around from that bottom lane. Again, credit has to go over to VandeR, who's hit some absolutely exquisite hooks here. Even the last one onto Alex, which couldn't be followed up on for obvious reasons there. That Cassidy got far too much mobility, but again, we saw the power of Xaxus diving straight into the middle of the team as well. Trinity Force, Blade of the Ruin King. He's going to be working himself up towards that Randuin's here shortly as well. This is the kind of Jax that you don't want to find yourself up against.
100% kill participation for Overpow. If you want to see somebody that is reading the tempo of this game and is at the right place at the right time, he has saved his teammates every single time that wild growth has been used. You could create a compilation of him saving ROCCAT members. Celaver on the top lane after the dive. In the river, saving Jankos after the dive. Throwing it on VandeR after that last tower dive. It's just every single time he's connecting and he's making it count. I do want to touch on an item build very quickly because a Warden's Mail has been picked up. So maybe it's Casa Tank instead of Casa Win or Casadin or however you're going to go for it. Not a traditional build. I do think that is very important considering how many auto attackers there are with Jax as well as Jinx in your face. So we'll see how it pans out with this tank Casadin because I'm not convinced so far.
Time to do the damage, could be now as well. Baron has come back into the game. The last one, of course, went to ROCCAT, but Gambit picked up the kills directly afterwards. Will that change this time around? ROCCAT are already doing the work on the backside there, as we see Aleksei split pushing away on the bottom side. He, of course, has that teleport available to him. Xaxus doesn't have the teleport, which means that ROCCAT have to make a decision here. It means that Xaxus is going to have to try and keep Aleksei down on this bottom side of the map if he's wanting to get involved. There is the Blade of the Roman King used. Xaxus going to go in. Is he going to get the stun off? No, Alex just walking just out of range.
Yeah, you never really think Jax is going to be able to 1v1 Cassidy thanks to that Rift Roar cooldown. He'll get some auto attacks, but not going to be enough. Darien is waiting in the wings. I lie entirely. It wasn't. And we do see that Gambit secure their own red buff. They needed multiple members there out of fear of the invade. You'll see that ROCCAT have got much better vision in and around the Baron pit, and Gambit haven't left this red buff area. So I'm wondering if they're afraid that a sneaky Baron is going to be going on, or ROCCAT are going to be forcing the objective. Yeah, I did see the ward in the pit.
Ward just thrown down in there, so they at least know that nothing directly in the pit is going on right now, but VandeR again getting into position. Got those Moby boots, so he's got a fair bit of pace on him. And he moves through, gets another ward into that curved rush, and he's going to try and clear things out here. Diamond just stalking off to the back, and he's in full vision of VandeR. So VandeR, you saw him step back there, a little bit cautious as to whether that Kha'Zix is going to jump over. Again, we see Xaxus dive onto Alex. As you said, though, you can't really lock down a Cassidy.
No, I really don't think that you can. I'm trying to understand what Gambit's thought process is with this composition, because if you've got multiple assassins, you have upfront burst and you want somebody to execute. I wonder why they didn't go for a Jinx as their AD carry. Yes, it would have been a bit riskier, but they would have had the damage to close out those fights. Right now, though, you do see Baron has been starting. Gambit coming in from the sides. They peeled for Diamond.
Oh, Diamond, though, he's going to get cocooned, and he's going to go down. That was brilliant stuff. You saw the ping ward put in position there, gave them the vision, not invisible anymore, and the Baron is going to go for a second time in a row over to ROCCAT.
At this point in time, ROCCAT already have a composition that is better at sieging turrets than Gambit's is at defending them. They just need to group up. Knowing that Jax has teleport also allows ROCCAT that air of safety to split push with a 4-man team in one lane and leave Jax as a 1-man team in another lane.
That 4-man team is pushing now along the top lane, and Overpow says, I got a shield all day long, and VandeR will add into that as well with Thresh. That turret goes down without really the need for those minions to come in and tank it up for them, and it's all now about that inhibitor turret. Of course, the inhibitor in the middle lane is completely wide open. Genja actually throwing out his ultimate here. The Cullen taking down that minion wave, but look at that, the next one right there behind them, and they're going to try and work themselves in for another turret kill.
Yeah, we do see that Alex is making his way back. Oh, they caught Diamond!
They caught Diamond, he actually goes away! Super Mega Death Rocket comes through, not quite got the execute. Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, Aleksei just having to defend against the minions that were pushed up there by Jax, and here is the hook coming out. There was a minion right in front of him. Don't think he spotted that that one was there. Did land though, so still good accuracy from VandeR.
At this point in time, Xaxus is continuing to split push this bottom lane. He got a couple of auto attacks off a few moments ago. That death sentence doesn't connect, but look at the damage onto Genja. 2 auto attacks from Celaver, and he loses 50% of his HP. I actually like the fact that Celaver's playing pretty safe. He does get caught by a bubble, but it's not worth the risk to jump in.
The damage going to be thrown out here. Genja trying his best to poke them back from this one. Edward almost at half HP once again. And not a fear for that hook, and look at that bottom lane once again. We see Jax continuing to move up closer on towards that turret. They've actually pulled Aleksei away from this one. They're going to go for the 5v4. Box comes down. Aleksei getting caught in the cocoon. There is a tidal wave going over as well. A good bubble comes in, but look at Celaver with the wild growth on, and now Jax is in the fight. He's absolutely hammering away on them. Darien's going to fall. That's 2 men down. All 5 members of ROCCAT are still alive on this one. They're going to take the inhib turret. The inhibitor will fall as well, and now they chased over on towards Diamond. The hook doesn't land. Well, that's the first inhibitor. The second one will go down. They can take that bottom side, if not finish it.
There are so many minions coming through the middle of this lane, and part of the reason that fight was so convincing for ROCCAT, after the 3-man bubble from Edward, Xaxus lands a 3-man counter-strike, locking up the entire Gambit team. Gambit panic and try to focus him down. They've caught Diamond.
They've caught Diamond. The flame will knock him back into sure death. Now Genja is going to be the focus. One more hit will do it. That's another kill for Celaver. The Nexus turrets are already gone, and it's ROCCAT that pick up game number 1 here in the quarterfinal.
Absolutely phenomenal performance. We see new champion picks coming out of the side of Gambit. the Irelia, the new Kassadin, as well as that Nami. And truthfully, while the Nami bubbles I do feel were very good, I'm not entirely convinced by that Irelia and that Kassadin. I think as a composition, had Gambit got ahead early, they had the ability to dash in and find kills, but that wasn't the case. And every time they were looking to kill somebody, a wild growth came down from Overpow, and it was like, yeah, what do you want to do now? Your burst is gone.
Every single time, those wild growths as well. The first one that we saw, the first spectacular one, was Celaver in the top lane. We thought, sure death coming in. There's 3 or 4 men diving him. Wild growth knocks him up in the air. They end up turning that fight around. And that continued throughout the game. We saw the fight where Darien, after they'd already lost 4 men, Darien respawned, kind of ran in there on his own. They turned it around, got another 2 kills, plus the inner turret, plus the inhibitor turret. It was clear at that point already, I think, to Gambit themselves as well, which is, you can always read Gambit's state of mind through how Darien's playing sometimes.
Yep.
I feel that, you know, he was just running in there. I think they felt that game was already over at that 4-man kill at least.
I do agree with you, and I do think that when you look at this particular matchup, you cannot take away from ROCCAT's individual ability to land the crowd control. Every time a siege is about to happen, we had no prolonged sieges. We had no prolonged dance-offs. There was no 2-minute dances around dragons or barons.
Yeah.
As soon as they met near an objective, ROCCAT caught somebody. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. There was a cocoon that landed, there was a flay that connected, or a death sentence that connected, and somebody instantly died. And you have to give credit to ROCCAT for finding those picks in those crucial situations.
Just want to have a look down the scoreboard here as well. 7-1-9 for Celaver. And he had a bit of trouble in that lane phase. We saw that he fell 15 to 20 CS behind for quite a lot of that game. Almost died to that dive in the top. I mean, that 1 kill there alone could have changed how this game would have gone, depending on who that got that kill, whether that was Kha'Zix or Kassadin to get rolling.
Not only that, it would have been a kill. It would probably have been the tower, and maybe even vision in the top half of the jungle. We touched on how many more wards ROCCAT buys than Gambit, and in the opening, I'm going to be super specific, in the opening 12 minutes of that game, I feel like Gambit had superior vision. But the moment they started falling behind, this renewed vision-based Gambit simply did not exist anymore, and they didn't have the information to work with to have aggressive picks with a pick composition.
Well, we do see ROCCAT taking game number 1 in the best of 3. More coming up in a little while, but first of all, we're going to head to the analyst table, where Shox and Deficio are standing by with Mr. Rals.
Thank you very much, Joe. Indeed, some things to talk about that game. Maybe starting off with, as Trevor highlighted, the new things coming out for Gambit and Irelia, and a Kassadin, the reworked Kassadin for the first time. What did you guys make of the comps? Maybe Mr. Raleigh first.
I don't really like Kassadin that much because your damage is too less, and you go after 3 ultis. I like the Irelia pick. If they could abuse the fact that him and Kha'Zix is stronger 2v2, but that didn't really work out.
Yeah, so for me, looking at the game itself, when you log in Irelia, you log in Kha'Zix, you log in Kassadin, it's a clear image, or you're really showing you want to have these bruisers who can jump in the middle of the fight, survive the damage. That's why we saw the build from Alex going very tanky, of course, Kha'Zix with his ultimate, and Irelia just being a bruiser. But it's a comp. If you fall behind, you don't have any damage, and you're not tanky enough. So it meant whenever they tried actually to teamfight ROCCAT once they were behind, they would go in, they would tank up some damage, but they wouldn't kill anyone. They wouldn't go close to kill anyone. So in that case, when you have this bruiser lineup, and that's why the Kassadin pick was there, it was not there to burst someone down, it was there to go in, tank some damage with the rest of the bruisers, kill the first target, could be the Jinx, no mobility, and then from there on, simply just be able to out-sustain ROCCAT in the team fights.
Do you feel that Alex maybe made the adjustment, he made the pick, he made the adjustment in the build, but he didn't make the adjustment in his head and his playstyle?
No, it's nothing about playstyle. It's simply Gambit falling behind as a team. And also, as we talked about during the game, when a key member like Darien, as a bruiser in a bruiser comp, falls behind, gives up like 6-7 kills, he's a non-factor. He will do nothing in the fights. He will go in, and we saw fight and fight again. ROCCAT would just turn around and just kill him because he was so squishy. And it also meant for him, once it got to like split pushing, which was something Gambit maybe could have tried to do, Irelia giving up 6-7 kills, and then Jax. Like, you're never going to be Jax one-on-one.
Mr. Raleigh, maybe talk me through the bottom lane, which ended up being in the top lane versus each other, and a Jinx pick, which could have been quite dangerous, but it did work out for them.
I think the matchup is kind of a skill matchup because you have hooks you can hit and you have bobs you can hit. So it's kind of situational how the lane is going to go. But if I had to give it someone, I think Lucian Nami is better because the Nami E can proc on Lucian's passive, so you have like a double damage. So yeah.
You guys, of course, ran that a couple of times as well, so you know very much what you're talking about. Then going into game 2, Gambit now has, it's kind of the same scenario that Alliance was in just earlier here today. What do you think they have to alter to Fischer going into game 2?
Well, first of all, if they do want to run this Bruiser comp where they need to be a hit to actually have enough damage in the team fights, they obviously need to make sure they don't make the same mistakes early game like they did here. They got caught out multiple times in the game. Hooks from VandeR landing, Cocoons landing from Jankos, giving kills onto ROCCAT. They also started the Baron. Yes, okay, they actually died after the Baron, but at least it was where ROCCAT really started to get ahead. And then there's the Dragon fight where, again, once again, the goods engaged by ROCCAT starting the fight. And from there on out, from Gambit's side, if they make these mistakes, if they get caught out of position and they play at this comp, which is very unforgiving when you do give up free kills, there's nothing they can do, really. So Darien, first of all, needs to stop feeding. He needs to stop giving up so many kills. I know it's harsh to say, you know, he was a target, but you can't have him give up these many kills, especially if you play Kassadin, because you need the damage elsewhere. Kassadin is good at cleaning up, he's good at chasing team fights. He's not good at killing people by himself. The old Kassadin will jump in just 1v5 everyone. Sure, new Kassadin, you need to be more tanky, you need someone else to do the damage, and then you start cleaning up, and if someone drops low, you can chase forever.
All right, well, Darien did say in the pre-show, I do not fear death, and we did see that right here. We'll see how it goes in the next game, of course. But now we're going to check in with you guys at home, because today, of course, earlier we asked you on Twitter, which European LCS team have you learned the most from this split and why? Here are a few of your responses. The first one is from AetherLol. I think I've learned the most from ROCCAT with their good rotation and focused team fights, and well, they did show up here today.
Definitely show up today. Early game, been an issue for them early in the season, was a bit the same here actually. Bit of a shaky start, but then once they got to rotation, got to team fights, they really pulled ahead. The comp worked really well in team fights, good protection onto Jinx, so they managed to peel off from Gambit whenever they tried to kill Celaver. So I would say, for me, ROCCAT, when it comes to learning from a team, it's more how many picks you can actually pull out and make them work. In the start of the season, we saw Mordekaiser, we saw Talon. Of course, you played against ROCCAT so many times. How is it actually to make a pick and ban phase against ROCCAT when you know they have all these weird picks?
It's very, very weird because you never know what to expect. When they picked Mordekaiser against us, we had no clue that they even picked it. And even the first game we played against Pantheon Malphite, we never ever expected to see a Pantheon. So it's very, very weird to play. But if you can find the right counter, it's kind of an easy game.
The second tweet is from @AlexMike20129. I learned the most from Fnatic. They taught me that a losing streak means nothing, and you can still come out strong and win. And yeah, what a season they've had so far.
What a season. I mean, Fnatic getting the second place, I don't think anyone doing the losing streak said, yeah, Fnatic, of course, they're going to get second place in the league or even battle for first place, because everyone was like, what's going on? Fnatic are performing so poorly. And of course, turning it around, you as a player, you know it yourself, you're now in a situation where you're facing relegation. I mean, when you're on these losing streaks, what is it you tell yourself? Like, how do you turn it around?
It can be very, very hard. For some players, they give up, and some players just get more motivation. For example, me, I get way more motivations. I really want to win, and I want to qualify on my own. But yeah, some other players kind of give up and get sad. So yeah.
Don't give up, guys. The last one is from @Jury99. SK Gaming. They have showed that you don't need 5 perfectly mechanically skilled players for winning. You need team play, and indeed, that team has gone through such an evolution here.
It's absolutely fantastic to see them now. Early in the season, people looking at the names saying, well, they're going to be like one of the bottom teams in the LCS. I believe actually there was a vote on Reddit before the whole season started where SK was like dead last as number 8. So people obviously didn't believe in them looking at the names, but the teamwork, the rotations they do as a team, and then N-Rated with his big brain, I mean, it is beautiful to see how N-Rated comes in there, gets comfortable with the team, and all of a sudden you start seeing these tactics Fnatic used to play when he was on there. So big credit to N-Rated and SK Gaming.
Yeah, and Mr. Riley, playing against Candy Panda and N-Rated, it's quite a pickle.
Yeah, well, yes and no. The main problem is that we have to meet a Svenskan every time we get 2v2. But yeah, SK is a team we can all learn from, especially my own team, because we are kind of at the opposite of SK. Like, we are 5 people that is really good mechanically and plays like solo queue. So we can definitely learn a lot from SK.
Very good. You highlighted Svensker, and indeed, what a fantastic performance he's had here in the split so far. You guys at home, thank you for sending those in, and keep tweeting to us @LOL Esports with the hashtag LCS to keep the discussion rolling. We're going to step off the Rift for a brief break, but stay close because Game 2 between ROCCAT and Gambit is coming right up. And of course, one of these teams will be going on to face the Spring Split's #1 team, SK Gaming, in the semifinals tomorrow. Before we find out who that is, let's take a look back at the long road to the top for SK Gaming.
The surrender vote has come out.
SK Gaming call it. Now they're down 2-0 in the best of 5.
There was some problems with Knif. We kind of knew he was going to leave. As you could see in the first 2 relegation games, he didn't really make the same calls as he used to.
They really need to shake off some Rusty if they want to bounce back.
But we had a talk and he picked it up and yeah, we won.
The Nexus going down in 500 HP. SK puts themselves back into the LCS.
So yeah, our goals for this season was always to just avoid relegation. It's like the worst thing you have to go through. It's really stressful.
After the first 3 weeks, basically, everyone was like counting us as an already relegated team. Week 1 loss versus Fnatic was definitely like the biggest loss because I think none of our LCS losses was like that big of a stomp.
That's the ace for Fnatic, and in the first El Clasico, Fnatic absolutely wiped the floor with SK Gaming.
And I was like so frustrated because I was like, damn, this is not working out. Then we like reset our team mindset, and after that, losses weren't frustrating.
As the season went on, then we started expecting more and more from ourselves.
We all kind of opened up a little bit more because before we were all just completely new to the team except Canipana.
And then we picked up the sports psychologist. We had more team synergy.
We started climbing up the whole bracket, only having Gambit on our side in the top 2.
I think I was in week 7 or something where we had a really good week. Like we actually realized, okay, we can actually beat the top teams.
Rocket goes down. You see Knif going down. We see Shook going down. Taps goes down. Alliance are falling left, right, center. SK Gaming just closing in to finish this game.
We were consistently performing good and other teams went up and down throughout the whole season.
You just have it to give it to these guys. They formed as a brand new team, effectively, and my God, teams really have to respect them now.
We didn't want to get cocky. Even at week 9, we were like still aiming for top 4. I think there were like 2 victories that were really important, but one especially was week 11 versus Fnatic.
The Karma speed bump is there, the explosive cast being used, but nothing can stop SK piling on through this base and taking top spot for their own.
Gave us a really, really good chance at getting first place.
Everyone seeing us as one of the teams that would do really bad and like be in the bottom the whole season, and then we just explode and go to the top.
Both Nexus turrets go down. The Nexus itself is finished off, and SK finished top. Absolutely incredible turnaround season from them.
I feel like every one of us has earned a place where we are right now because of the consistent hard work and the motivation we've put into it.
I think this season was more about us earning that respect.
You can already see like we get more fans or we get more recognition for being first place.
I think people will start recognizing us as a top team if we do well at playoffs.
In the end, if we win in the best of 3, best of 5, something a longer series, not just 1 or 2 games, I feel like that can maybe change minds of people.